Hi folks, this podcast is designed to invite you to get curious about yourself, your life and the world we live in. And every topic, every conversation that we have invite you to do just that. So in episode 19, I am sharing my top 6 truths that I have learned finally after over 20 years in the personal development space. This life, this journey that we're on is never ending. And I invite you to get curious about where you are, about the things showing up for you. And in the 6 things that I'm going to share with you, ask yourself, do they actually feel like a truth for you? So what we'll be exploring in this episode, I will be sharing with you why self-awareness is the starting point and how it can change everything. I will be sharing with you how our energy, our most dominant emotional energy imprint, how it actually impacts your world and speaks before you've ever even said a word. This is real, folks. It's empowering. I'm going to chat about how small resets actually create the biggest change and how they have made the biggest change in my world. How new results will always require a new identity. This one's key. How you can choose to live your life either by design or by default. And why your greatest asset is in your ability to be yourself. So let's dive in and explore number 1. So this first truth, number 1, why self-awareness changes everything. It's exactly what it says in the tin. Self is you. Awareness comes from what you're willing to pause and hear. Not externally, not in the outside world, but actually inside, internally, that voice that we all have within, that soul that is here to get us to remember our purpose, to remember what we are here to share, what job we are here to do, if you like. That self-awareness is a game changer because the human in us, the logic in us, the mind function in us is always formatting on autopilot. It is always just taking the data that we have put into it over our lifetime, over our experiences. It's literally taking all the stuff that we've accumulated, that we have put into it, and literally just spitting it back out, on autopilot all the time. That you ever feel when you have that Groundhog Day? You're like, oh my God, how am I still in this circle? Why is this still happening? Why is this experience? Why are these things still happening? You might be in a different country and you still have the same scenarios. You might be in a different relationship but still have called in the same qualities in a relationship. You might be doing the same things and continuing to get the same results. That is autopilot. Why self-awareness matters is because when you actually pause, when you begin tuning in and listening to what your soul is telling you, to what it wants you to remember, we listen not with our ears, not with our head, but with our heart. When you begin to pay attention and become more aware of the story loop that you have been playing on repeat, the reruns, what is continuously showing up in your life that you no longer like, that frustrates the hell out of you, that actually irritates the life out of you. When you go from neutral, very important here, go from neutral instead of judgment, you remove the ego. You remove that need for explaining, for explanation, for backing yourself up, for criticizing or blaming or shaming others. When we literally grab it and set it to the side and then just go neutral, flat neutral, no judgment can live there. Neutrality is coming from a place where there is no shame. You don't need an explanation. You don't need to judge. You don't need to blame others. You don't need to carry that burden and seek and search for someone's right and someone's wrong. That awareness and neutrality in that pause, what it allows you to do is actually just sit in that, that drop down, that download, that thing that sinks, boom, that just lands in your heart, that lands in your gut, that just boom. And all of a sudden, it's like a veil has been lifted, like another door has been opened, and you're like, oh my God, that lens, that view of how you've seen your world and your reality. On the external, nothing has changed. But on the internal, in your self-awareness, in your remembering what your soul has already known and wanted to show you, has been trying to show you, that's where the change happens. That's where all of a sudden, that guilt, that shame, that pullback, that irritation, that need to blame, that fear has shifted, and your energy is now operating, your story is now in a space of love, of, okay, infinite possibilities, of, I feel like I can breathe. I feel a lot lighter. I don't feel like I'm carrying around all this bullshit. I don't feel as heavy a burden. I don't feel as tense or uptight. I don't feel that need. You gain more clarity. You move from a place of calm, of ease, of flow. Do you see that experience? That is the magic of self-awareness. That is one of the most greatest gifts you can give yourself, is to pause as often as you need it, to reset, to sit with yourself more often, and invite in questions from neutrality. Open your heart wide. Operate from a place of love and just invite in what needs to emerge from me today, as Wayne Dwyer says. What needs to come up for me today? What is it that I need to be aware of? Not what I need to fix, what do I need to make right or wrong or any of that. No. What needs to come to and through me today? What am I ready to release? What am I ready to reset on? What am I ready to move on from? What story? How am I ready to evolve it? And that brings us on to number 2 of those truths. Our energy, because our physical body is made of energy. Our quantum field, science has told us, is made of energy. We live in an energetic field. Everything is energy moving. We are energy. It moves to and through us. We're like a magnet, and we are attracting like for like energies to us all the time. This is the function of the human. It's the function of the world that we live in. We are always magnetizing similar energies, because similar attracts similar, like attracts like. So when you think of your energy, this is what I've coined in the Good Life approach as our emotional energy imprint, our EEI. And what that simply means is, when you are emotionally charged, whatever your most dominant feeling is, not from your head but from your heart, what you're feeling inside, your true feelings, not what you're surfacing, not what you're saying from the teeth out when you're wearing a mask and pretending, faking that everything's okay. It doesn't work, because people feel the undercurrent, and sometimes we don't know that we're feeling this undercurrent. But do you know when you just feel like something's off, or someone's off, or they're not quite being honest or truthful? Or best example, when you're standing in a shopping centre and you can feel somebody staring at you from behind, and you look behind, and sure enough, they're staring at you. You feel their energy, but you can't see. Our energy speaks for us, and other people's energy speaks before them. So when you're feeling you can't quite put your finger on someone, or something feels off, or you feel aligned to something, that's that most dominant emotional energy imprint. And we are imprinting on people all the time. We are imprinting on our lives, the people around us, the people that matter. I think about this especially for my 3 boys. Like, what am I imprinting at home? What am I imprinting in my business to people? What am I imprinting when I meet people in my friendship circles, and when I'm sharing? We are always imprinting. And that is what speaks for you. That is what tells people if you're authentic, if you're genuine, if what you're saying you believe to be a truth. That energy, that most dominant core, you cannot fake that. You cannot pretend that. That is what will always speak for you first. So when we say the likes of confidence is an inside job, it absolutely 100 million% is, because confidence comes from what you really believe about you. It comes from your identity, the idea that you hold within, deep in your subconscious, in the layers of your fiber, in your energetic cells, in your DNA. This is the story. This is the feelings. This is the actions, the reactions, what you've bought into. This is where it comes back to your self-awareness. Because when you invite in that idea to ask the question, give yourself permission to be neutral and say, okay, so then what is my emotional energy imprint? Like, what is the most dominant feeling that I wake up with? Do I wake up in dread? Do I wake up in fear? Do I wake up worried about bills? Do I wake up worried about, oh my God, I absolutely hate going to my work, or today is going to be a horrible day, or how am I going to cope, or how am I going to pretend, or I don't want to be in this relationship anymore, or I don't want to live the way I'm living anymore. I'm done. I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of pretending that I have it all together. This is how I was before going through burnout. Many times it was usually that pretending and keeping face and saving face and just trying to keep going. But your emotional energy imprint, you can't fake that. You can't lie about it. It will always greet people. That's your calling card. That's your business card if you're a business owner. That is your calling card in a relationship. That is the imprint that you're leaving your family with, your kids with, those closest to you with. But most importantly, that's what you are living with yourself. And if you're in this dominant feeling of dread, of worry, of stress, of frustration, not only the impact that you have on other people, yes, that matters. But it's what impact is that actually having on your physical body? Like, what impact, what disharmony, what dis-ease? I invite you to think about this. What dis-ease is coming out in your body as a last resort to try and express itself and get out? Is it headaches? Is it pain? Is it ulcers? Is it constant feeling sick? Is it skin rashes? Is it hair conditions? Is it sore throats? Is it constant sickness, constant rundown, constantly feeling tired, constantly feeling in pain, inflammation? There are so many things here. And again, this is inviting you to get curious. This isn't me telling you. This isn't me being a doctor and saying this has been caused because of this. This is simply me inviting you into getting curious about these ideas, about the energies that you're currently playing with and holding, and inviting yourself to think outside the box, to think a bit differently and explore different opportunities and experiment, and simply play about with other ideas that empower you, that support you, that hold a healthier, happier, more loving version of you that you would like to be. Because when we're born, we're not born as somebody that's in severe pain and suffering and that hates the world. Through our life experiences, we slowly but surely drip feed and attach these experiences, and that's where the self-awareness comes in. So the third one to think about is the power of small intentional resets. This was one of the biggest game changers in my life, and it began when I went through burnout as a nurse, away at the beginning of my career, after dealing with hundreds of people in their deathbeds. It was that surface, that energy, that trying to keep everything together for over 2 years, that constant stress and anxiety that I had with the flat, with constant antisocial behaviours, things that ended in death threats. But for over 2 years, I was trying in my logic to figure things out. I was told to go bankrupt. I was told to leave the house. I was told to do so many things. But in my logical head and in my ego, I was saying, I can't go bankrupt. I have money here to pay. People have told me that it's my fault because I bought this place, so just suck it up and just live with the consequences. And I bought into all these ideas and beliefs because in my awareness, I wasn't willing to ask a different question. I wasn't willing to explore the idea of, well, what if I did go bankrupt and I did let it go? What if I stopped shaming and blaming myself because I'd done it for over 2 years? What if I did just surrender and let go and trust the nudges, trust the inner voice, trust the people in the know that were giving me the guidance, that were guiding me and giving me the advice, and just because my ego didn't want to hear it and my pride didn't want to hear it, because I was brought up that you don't buy something or pay for something unless you have the money, and because some people in their lack of awareness had decided to say, well, you made your bed, lie in it, and because I chose to buy into all that at the time, my thinking was quite limited, quite restricted, and in that's where my world of pain was, because I wouldn't let myself move out of that box, and in that box I had no more moves. I was so limited, I felt so restricted, I felt so held back. But by daily resets, by pausing, by inviting in the question, by having release cries, by surrendering, by being vulnerable and having the courage to actually say, okay, if some people have said this, in my head it made sense at the time, but in my heart I'm going, oh my God, that feels so wrong. That doesn't feel like it's coming from a place of love. That feels like it's coming from a judgment, and not me to judge somebody else, but that's where their awareness is. But does that feel right in my heart? No. Is what somebody else advising me to do or recommending me to do, what does that feel like? It feels scary as hell. I feel so vulnerable. I feel sick. I feel like I really don't want to do that. Like I'm letting myself down. Like this is something that I grew up believing, and now like how could I have got myself into this situation? I want you to think about your life and your experiences and what is going on for you in your world. What have you been judging yourself too harshly on? What have you been criticizing yourself for? What have you not allowed yourself to ask, to look at it in a different way? Because when we be neutral, when we lift the ego by the ears and set it aside and just say, right, okay, we'll slide the judgments, other people's as well as ours. We'll slide them all over there for a minute. We don't have to deal with them. We'll just put them over there, do nothing else with them. And just go to flat neutral, go to baseline and just say, okay, so what if I give myself permission to think about something in a different way? What if I'd done a small reset and just paused and just simply listened to what my heart was saying, not my head, but my heart? Do I trust that this small inner voice within me is saying, do you know what, actually, explore this way a bit more, explore this narrative a bit more, explore this opportunity a bit more. That old story's done and it no longer serves you. There is another way and you're being guided, and it's scary, and you'll need to be vulnerable and you'll need to have a bit of courage. But it's okay. This unforeseen energy, source, God, universe, infinite, whatever, it's got you. And that feeling in your heart, if you allow yourself to be open and vulnerable and have the courage for just that bit, and allow it to just gently guide you and go from there, and just keep those small resets, those small steps, those small micro moments, just keep doing, keep breathing, keep pausing, keep releasing, keep allowing yourself to release cry, keep releasing those roars, that vent, that release of that energy. Keep doing what you need to do in that check, and by doing that, oh my God, that had the biggest impact and continues right up to this day to have the biggest impact. So that's what I invite you to do on a daily, on a regular basis. Anytime you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, frustrated, angry, irritated, where you feel lost or you feel stuck or you just don't know what way to turn, I invite you to simply pause and just tune in and listen to what your heart, to what your soul is guiding you to listen to. Ask yourself, does it feel like a truth? Not does it sound like a truth, because our mind has all this bullshit, all this data, all these experiences, and it's not coming from love, it's not coming from neutrality. It's run by the ego, and it is just on autopilot, just spitting out the data, that's all it is. That data of judgment, that data of pain, that data of don't break the circuit, stay in the cycle, because the ego loves the cycle of the repetition to keep you where you are. So go to the heart and ask and invite yourself and start doing those small resets. That's why it was one of the biggest game changers. Number 4, new results will always require a new identity. So if you are calling in a goal, if you are setting intentions, if you have released stuff in your year, this is what I always do at the end of every year. I release and sit and do a journal, just write out all of the things that I remember, just points and factors and ideas from that year. So this year was 2025. All the different things, just write them out. What am I ready to release here? What am I ready to simply let go of? What am I grateful for? What have I elevated from? Where has my identity shifted? Because you can't know what the future is, but you can look back and join the dots and then see, oh, that led to that, led to that, led to that. But when we're going into the future, it's not about figuring out the how, because that's logic, that's human made. It's about the heart and holding your vision of what would I love. And then being open to the opportunities, being open to pathways, being open to ways that our mind couldn't even imagine. Ways that our identity isn't even aware of yet, to shift, to become that person that you're desiring to be, to call in what you want, what you would love to experience in this life, in this lifetime now. So when we talk about creating goals or wanting a new life or wanting new results, it's about choosing what would you love and asking yourself, okay, so if I have created this current reality, this current life, and these current results now from who I am being now, my current identity, simply ask yourself first, will this identity allow me to create the new results that I want? Or will it just keep me in the autopilot, spitting out the same data, the same results, the same thoughts, the same feelings, the same actions, the same story loop? Do you see where we're going with this? In order for me to get where I am today, I've had to evolve and shed so many different layers, so many different skins, so many different identities throughout my lifetime. And I've spent over 40 years of shedding and utilising wisdom and experiences from my earliest impact of 4.5, right up to the current day. I'm currently 45. And as we evolution in ourselves, in our identity, in what we would love, continuously changes all the time. It changes. You're allowed to change what you would love. Your vision, your ideas, you achieve more and more goals. Your idea changes, and you're allowed to change that. There's nothing set in stone. This is about you choosing what your idea of the good life looks like, and then deciding what it is that you would love, and then being open to that idea and asking, what identity do I need to create? Who do I need to be showing up as now? What story loop do I need to adjust? What do I need to tweak in there? What do I need to tweak to show up more, to tune into myself more, to trust my path more? Do I need to pause more often? Do I need to do daily resets? Do I need to release the unwanted energy and patterns? Do I need to actually intentionally choose what I would love in my new identity for my goal achieved, for living this life of joy, of happiness, of peace, of calm, of contentment, of abundance, of happiness? Like what is it? Because that's where your identity work comes in. And you cannot create new elevated results with the identity that created your current results. You just can't do it, because we operate on autopilot, on groundhog. You're on that base camp of identity, on that run of the ladder. And if you want to go 2 runs up, your identity has to go 2 runs up to match that new result. And you have to think intentionally, start imagining and envisaging, and open your heart and asking, what would I love? What thoughts would I have from there? What would I feel from there? How would I feel from there? How would I wake up? How would I show up? How would I interact with others? Where my awareness can shift? What about my ideas can shift? What actions, how can I take them differently? What emotional imprint would I need to be imprinting and sending out to the world for me to have more of these experiences? Do you see where we're going with this? This is why identity shifting and having your awareness on this and understanding your emotional imprint and doing daily resets to reset out of the old patterns and reset your standard as new in your new identity. This is how it all intertwines. This is how all these truths work beautifully together. Number 5, you get to choose your life either by intentional design, to live in the intentional cycle of life, manifesting, or unintentionally by unintentional design. And let me break that down. So when we manifest simply means to make something real. It means that you choose your thoughts, your story loop, you choose your feelings, you choose your actions, you align them with your identity of who you choose to be. And you intentionally elevate, evolve, shift your beliefs to match that person. And then you become and you move your actions, you move and you live your life intentionally, you shift your energy, you embody these new actions, you embody these new thoughts and feelings. That's intentional manifesting. However, about 90% of us actually live our life unintentionally in default, because we simply haven't given ourselves that time or that level of awareness to actually pause and ask the question. So if you're listening to this, you're obviously curious about yourself and your life. So ask the question, what in your life is currently on default? What is continuously showing up that you don't enjoy? Are you currently making the same amount of money over and over and over and over again? It's just a constant, it's a default. Are you constantly attracting the same relationships that frustrate you, the same scenarios, the same experiences? You're living that Groundhog Day, day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out. And there's nothing wrong with this. Remember, we go to neutral. However, when you're in that exploration of raising your consciousness, of raising the collective, and actually you are in that space of remembering that, do you know what, I would love to experience something different. I would love to experience more of this. I would love to experience more of that. When you're in that phase, these are the questions that you begin asking yourself. This is where the awareness of you asking, what part of my life is currently in groundhog? What part is unintentional? Am I now going to make intentional? What unintentional things, what habits have I done by default that have created the current results I live in? What actions do I now need to make intentional? There's 2 cycles. 90% of us live in the unintentional, 10% that are developing themselves, asking the questions, willing to grow, having the courage to be vulnerable and step out and think in another way and experience and experiment for themselves. That's the best way I recommend you go about this. Experiment, try it out for yourself, because when you experience for yourself something change in your life and shift because you've taken a specific action and done something differently, that is the biggest hell yes. This works. So give that a go. and move more intentionally, intentional living by intentional design, this is when you begin to manifest intentionally. That is the power of intentional manifesting. And number 6, this is the biggest truth, and this is my strongest belief, something I talk about in Daring to Be You all the time. Oh my God, your greatest asset is your ability to be yourself. That means daring to step out, daring to have the courage, daring to be vulnerable, daring to shed old skins, old ideas, old beliefs, old identities that no longer serve you. It's about daring to actually speak a truth and say, do you know what? I would actually love this. I would love this experience. I would love this opportunity. I would love to do this. I would love to help people in this way. I would love to live my life this way. I would love to live in this country. I would love to experience whatever it is that you want to experience. And again, go back to your idea of the good life. If your greatest asset is your ability to be yourself, what does that mean? It means that you are willing to be aware. You're willing to evolve in your self-awareness. You're willing to continuously question and be curious and invite in new ideas and opportunities. You're not stuck in this rigid thing. You're willing to let go of old resentment. You're willing to let go of old experiences. You're willing to turn traumas and impacts into wisdom. You're willing to no longer let that define you or be what you're about. You're no longer willing to hold that rucksack of bullshit anymore, but you are willing to say, okay, this has brought me to where I am today. And it's part of my greatness. Daring to be you means daring to be you, warts and all, as I call it. The messy bits. I was told I was a crier. I was told, why are you crying all the time? Oh, you're on your period. Oh, this is the time. Or this is, oh, here we go again. Are you in a mood? Is it hormones? Is it, why are you crying? Tiny tears. All of this. But what I realized was that by being me, by doing those release cries, by owning my vulnerability, by sharing what I share, by just bloody being me and being authentic and loving it and not apologizing, oh my God, like the greatness, that feeling that you have inside, like that light, like my heart, it just feels like it's ready to burst right now. Because this is my passion. This, oh my God, is my purpose. Daring to be you. To experience that truth. When you dare to be you and stop trying to be somebody else, stop trying to be somebody that you're not or something that you're not, when you surrender that bullshit and let go of the expectations and the judgments and the all that and you surrender and begin calling in the parts that you put out in the cold, that you didn't love, that you hated about yourself. Go look at your cellulite. Go look at your scars. Go look at the things that you shunned, that you avoided, that you hid, that you didn't love about yourself, that you felt guilty about, that you felt ashamed of. I invite you to invite all those in, because here's what happens when you do. You let go of that energy, that vulnerability, all of that. You let go of that pain. You let go of the judgments of all of it. Like you release so much baggage, so much unwanted energy. And you allow that love, that radiance, that essence of who you really are. You allow in room for those infinite possibilities. You allow your ideas to expand. You allow your emotional energy imprint, that imprint of no longer heaviness or judgment or shame or hiding, but you allow that energy, that dominant essence of love, of opportunity, of your expression of who you really are to shine. You start attracting the right people. You start attracting the right opportunities. You start attracting incredible ideas. You start attracting more ease, more flow, more fun, more health, more abundance, more prosperity, more happiness, more joy, more of what you choose intentionally to experience. This is the power of personal development. This is the power of self-awareness. And to wrap up, like, these 6 truths, finally understanding these and seeing and experiencing on a continuous basis. And these are things that I still do now, will always do over my lifetime as long as I'm breathing. The impact and the shift that these have had in my life and how I view me and my worth and my self-love and in my passion and why I do what I do, in my business, in my connections, in my family, in my life, in absolutely every area, has been phenomenal and worth its weight in gold. I hope that these have helped you. Feel free to share this episode with somebody who could do with listening or hearing it. And download it and save it for those times when you need to remember. My name is Donna Martin, and as always, I invite you to get curious about yourself, your life, and the world we live in. This is the Good Life approach. So live your life intentionally and dare to be you. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next episode.